got this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night, got this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business. So back and forth with the bullshit. I know I said it before, I don't mean it. It's been a while since I had your attention. So it might hurt to hear this.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I have some election results for you. Don't shush them. They don't want to hear the results. It's okay. It's 2 o'clock. We're going to get started. Associate Justice position number 6. Ben Beelan from Womack County. For Associate Justice position number 5, Henry Chilcote from Rooks County. For position number 4, Landon Holliday from Carville County. Associate Justice position number 3, Namandi Islam, Carville County. Associate Justice position number 2, Pierce Absher, Carville County. Associate Justice position number 1, Rice Bennett, Hanner County. For the position of Chief Justice of the State Supreme Court, Jared Brown, Womack County. For the Office of Land Commissioner, Darian Lewis, Caldwell County. For the Office of State Auditor, Cade Anderson, Hanner County. For Attorney General, Andrew Peebles, Rooks County. For the Office of Treasurer, Holland Glaze, Carville County. For Secretary of State, Fernando Flores, Caldwell County. The person who will assume the role of governor in case the governor is unable to fulfill their responsibilities for the office of Lieutenant Governor, Neil Dogra, Caldwell County. Gentlemen, this next individual will come back again in 2023 to represent you, this delegation, to the 2023 delegation as governor. Will also get an opportunity to represent you with the American Legion across the state of Arkansas throughout the entire year. We'll get an opportunity to go to one of 3 schools that they desire to go to, tuition-free, University of Central Arkansas, Henderson State University, or Arkansas State University. Your 2022 governor, Pablo Vasquelo Moya, Hanner County.
Now everywhere I go, they say congratulations. Young nigga graduation. I pick up the rock and I ball, baby. I'm looking for someone to call, baby. But right now I got a situation. Number old Ben Franklin. Big rings, champagne. My life is like a ball game. But instead I'm in a trap though. Pot so big, call it Super Bowl.
Good afternoon. From Arkansas Boys State on the campus of the University of Central Arkansas, I am Knox Graham, anchor of ARBS News, and I am pleased to welcome you to today's Boys Nation Candidate Forum. The participants in today's forum are the 4 finalists for Boys Nation. 2 of the finalists will be elected to represent the state of Arkansas in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. For those who may not know, Boys Nation is a week-long civic engagement camp centered on democracy. While at Boys Nation, delegates will tour various monuments and museums, participate in a mock Senate where they will propose their own legislation, and run for offices like President and Vice President of Boys Nation. The format for today's forum was drafted by the Arkansas Boys State Boys Nation team, and the candidates have all agreed to the rules. The forum will cover 4 topic areas: U.S. foreign policy, U.S. domestic policy, skills, and government systems, followed by a question and answer period for Boys State delegates. The questions come from the Boys Nation team and have not been shared with the finalists. At the start of each segment, I will lead with a question. The candidates will then answer in order of their names on the ballot and alternate for which candidate will begin the segment. The candidates will have 1 minute 30 seconds to answer the question. If a candidate is explicitly named or their answer is mentioned in the previous candidate's answer, that candidate will receive 30 seconds to respond. Before we welcome the candidates, we want to ask you to hold your applause until the end of each segment. You may applaud the candidates when we introduce them all. After that, we do ask that you hold your applause until the end of each segment to ensure that each candidate is heard. Without further delay, we introduce you the finalists for Boys Nation. Reed Bigger for Qualls County. Henry Chilcote of Rooks County. Colby Moore of Cotton County. Last is Hudson Seago of Carville County. Candidates, we look forward to hearing your vision and proposals in this forum. Let's begin with your opening statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their opening statement, beginning with Reed Bigger.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Reed Bigger, and I am from Pocahontas, Arkansas, and I'm here today representing Qualls County. I'm running for your Boys Nation representative to represent us as a whole, as a community, not just by me, not representing me, but us, the people of Arkansas. So I got a question to ask y'all first. What are the characteristics, just shout it out, what are y'all's characteristics of a leader or a representative that you want? Okay. So the random people in yellow shirts over there that I've never met before, I heard something about passion and charisma, correct? Yeah, awesome. Great answer. That's what I was going to talk about. So I think personally that a great leader has passion and charisma. You see this with like world leaders because they're not afraid to put themselves out there, just like me. If you've talked to me this week, if I got to meet you, if I got to know you on a personal level, you know I'm not afraid to speak my mind. You know I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm going to talk to you. I want to be your friend. I want to represent you. I want to hang out with you. And I think great leaders they get along and they can talk about anything they need to represent. And I believe that I'm the best candidate here to represent us as Arkansas, to go on to Boys Nation and to represent us and our mind and our thoughts. So one more thing, I was told that I had to give y'all a bill that I need to take to the House in Washington. So my bill is going to be over reform on gun restriction, and it's not my bill is not that I'm anti-gun, but I'm pro-gun, and that I just think the loophole system
Thank you,
needs to
Mr.
be
Biggert.
changed.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Next is Henry Chilcote.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. I'm Henry Chilcote, and I would like to be one of your Boys Nation delegates for the year of 2022. So I'm going to start my speech off with a story, and to preface this story, let me just tell you all now that I am not insane. I'm a partially sane man, and I take much pride in that. Now, last night, after I got done, I got to my lodge at about like 12 o'clock. We'd been making TikToks all night, me and the other state delegates, and I got to my lodge, and I wanted to go to bed because I was tired, and I was, I needed rest for what I was doing today. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to bed. And then somehow I ended up sitting on my toilet with I had my pants on, I was sitting on my toilet, and I was watching preschool, like Bible worship dance videos for about like 45 minutes before I went to bed. Please don't cut my mic, because this ties into my point. So I did that, and I was thinking to myself, why am I doing that? You know when you just do something and you have no idea why. So I was like, why am I doing this? This isn't something that a Boys Nation delegate would do, right? I mean, it's kind of embarrassing as I'm telling it out to you guys now. But the reason I'm saying this to you guys is because last night, after I finished watching all those cool preschool kids dancing and the worship songs, I decided that I was going to be 100% truthful with all of you, that I wasn't going to hide any of my opinions, I wasn't going to put on a face for any of you guys, and that's how I want to run for Boys Nation delegate. So I'd like to, as the forum moves on and as we move on with our speeches, I'd like to be 100% with you guys all the way, and if being 100% with you guys doesn't get me the spot, then I'm fine with that, because if I am 100% with y'all and I don't get the spot, then at least I know that is truly what y'all would have wanted. And
Thank
that
you,
will
Mr.
be all. Thank
Chilcote.
you.
Next is Colby Moore.
Hi, everyone. I just have to say that one of the best part about being at Boys State is to get to meet all of you. I have heard many issues, many debates, many arguments, and many stories. And I realize there's a problem here. A lot of you don't know my story. A lot of you don't know who I am. And I can go on and on about my achievements. I can go on and go on about my goals. But a lot of you thinking in your mind, you don't care. I am 17. I am an openly gay black male. And that's hard. That's hard to tell all of you. I am still one of the, I'm not going to say that. I will still fight, and that's because why I'm here. And that's why I'm up here. It's because I care. I see things in this world that needs to change, and it's going to change. It needs to change. Something has to give in the future, but I can't do it alone. As a person who wants to go into politics, I'm not strong on every issue, but I try my hardest to learn.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Next is Hudson Seago.
Hi, my name is Hudson Seago, And in my speeches for Boys Nation, I've talked much about the reputation of Arkansas. I've talked about the legacy that Bill Clinton left in office. I've talked about how many of us will leave Arkansas to pursue higher education and college. I point this out only to say that people who have the capacity or the ambition to leave Arkansas usually do so. You see, I wanted people to be prideful about their state like you'd see in Texas. I wanted people to be proud of their upbringing as an Arkansan. I didn't come here to Boise State to run for anything. The truth is, I came here because my friend was going and because it looks good on a college resume. At school, I'm expected to be a leader. I have a reputation to do what is right, but I came here with no reputation, no expectations by others, and no desire to run for anything. That changed whenever I found something to say. One thing led to another, and here I am before you now. I've talked a lot about my desire to go to Boise State, or to go to Boise Nation, so that I can bring pride back to the state of Arkansas. One thing I believe is great about Arkansas is the economic opportunity available here. If you were to elect me as Boise Nation Senator, I will employ federal resources to encourage businesses to come to Arkansas in order that they may see and recognize the beauty we get to experience every day. We will work with these businesses and partner with them in order that we may provide economic prosperity to regions in our state that are often overlooked. In doing so, we will create economic stability and prosperity for generations to come. Again, my name is Hudson Seago, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Seago. This concludes our opening statements. Our first question tonight is, what is a moment in your life that has prepared you for Boys Nation, and what lesson did you learn that can be applied to Boys Nation? We will start with Reed Bigger.
So, a lesson that I learned, or a moment in my life that really changed me to make me more responsible for Boys Nation and to represent, is that I grew up in a small town of Pocahontas, Arkansas. It's about 7,000 people on a good day. And I'm one of our young leaders in the community, not by like my name, but like by my grandpa's name. My grandpa was Frank Bigger, and he was mayor from 2008 to 2012, and he had a really great reputation that rubbed off on me. Like, everyone knew me and all that, so I had high standards to I always tried to be perfect, and sometimes you're just not. And I think I'll be the first one to admit that. But what I'm saying is, I feel like I'm more prepared for Boise State.
Thank you, Mr. Bigger.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So I am an Eagle Scout, if any of you guys did not know. One time when I was at Boy Scout summer camp, well, it was actually the first year I ever went to like Boy Scout stay away summer camp. I was away from my parents for a week, and I was, I was guided obviously, but I wasn't like completely guided. It was my first taste of a little bit of freedom in life, and I kind of wasted most of it, if I'm being honest. Like, I didn't go do anything. I didn't go to the climbing wall like the other kids. I didn't play basketball. I just kind of sat in my little tent, and I read my comic books. But one thing that taught me, near the end, I learned that in order to truly enjoy something, you have to go and you have to go get it. You can't just wait for the opportunities to take you. You have to go get them, and that's what I feel like prepared me for Boise State.
Thank you, Mr. Chilcote.
What prepared me for Boise State was, quite honestly, I was scared when I got here. But a friend told me to fight. You got to keep fighting. And you have to stay encouraged. And that's something my county has taught me. It's to stay encouraged and stand your ground and believe in what you believe in. People is going to disagree with you, and that's okay. I know that. But Boise State has taught me to stand your ground.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
So I'd say I've been prepared to go to Boys Nation over these past few weeks by just having conversations with two of my close friends. One of them's thinking about becoming a Christian missionary, and I've shared this in a couple of my speeches, but what he's ultimately an idea we've talked about with him is that it's a verse from the Bible, Acts 4, verse 20 says, "We cannot help but share what we have seen and heard to be true." We are called to all be, as Christians, we're all called to be leaders in some form or fashion to grow the kingdom of God. And so that's his conviction to go out and to go share. It's a calling that we all have. I think this relates to Boys Nation in the sense that we've all been prepared to become leaders this entire week, so we need to go out and go share that as well as we've learned it in our schools, among other things.
Thank you, Mr. Seago. Thank you for all your answers. We will continue to the next question. Over the past 3 years, our legislature has been more divided than united. How will you unite your colleagues in the Senate to pass meaningful legislation? We will begin with Mr. Chilcote.
Okay, so what I want to try doing, and I know we've been trying this for years and years, but I feel like we haven't really hit the nail on the head yet fully, is to just try and get these legislators to sit down with each other and acknowledge that they're all human. Like, I feel like a lot of the times in these kind of big, the Arkansas legislatures and you know, even federal legislatures, these, like, the people who are passing these bills kind of see their opponents as just complete enemies, people they should work against. And you know, this is America, this is democracy, it's about cooperation, and I don't see a lot of that from modern legislatures, so I would encourage cooperation among these legislatures. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chilcote.
Well, I will impose to our U.S. senators, and not only that, our U.S. representatives and our president and vice president, is that we have to start finding other solutions and other ways to combat disagreements as long as well as agreements. To sit down at the table and to have a conversation in a civilized format. One thing that we need to start teaching our U.S. senators and our U.S. representatives is how to communicate efficiently and communicate well, something that they lack, honestly.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
So I used to think everything that's wrong with our political system today was ultimately a result of us failing to keep George Washington's farewell address, where he warned against splitting up into political parties because of division like this. But a couple days ago, we saw on the board someone reference that majority of people today, they want a third option of political views or whatever that might be, a third option of political parties or just another party in general. And so what I would encourage to help unite the country more would be just more options. I think in order to get more options, you need to approach arguments in a loving manner and seeking to understand people's motivations and considering their viewpoints. And so that's what I would try to implement.
Thank you, Mr. Seago.
Okay, so I'm actually going to agree with Mr. Henry here. He said that, you know, if they sit down and they could just talk it out, you know, acknowledge that no one's perfect, no one has the same ideas, and they could just cooperate a little bit better, I feel like they could come to a more mutual understanding, and the legislative would be more like united and together than it would be separated if they could just sit down and talk about some things they do have in common for the most part. I mean, not everyone's going to get along when they meet, you know, a new person, but you got to find that common ground that combines the two people.
Thank you for your answers. Our third question. The United States will be sending $700 million in military aid to Ukraine. What are your thoughts on the aid being sent? We will start with Mr. Moore.
I think the aid being sent is a good idea. As I said to my previous classmates, as we have talked about in the past, we need to support Ukraine in every which way, and we need to continue to stand by Ukraine. What Russia has done is a slaughter and a murder on an innocent country that is looking for their own independence, their own government. And there's no reason why the people that country should have to be fighting for their life because of Russia's so-called pro-government movements. It's utterly ridiculous, so the United States needs to stand by Ukraine as much as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
I support it entirely. I think a attack on democracy anywhere is an attack on democracy everywhere. I think that we should fully support helping those who at the time cannot help themselves. I'm all for supporting that, and I would also argue that just they need our help. And I think it's our responsibility and our role as a thriving country to help them.
Thank you, Mr. Seago.
I'm in full support of it. I think it's the right thing to do. As Hudson said, you know, democracy, attack on democracy is attack on any democracy. So like when a communist country goes into Ukraine like that, you know, the underdog in this situation that doesn't have all the natural resources and the money and the funds that the U.S. and all of the other NATO allies have, then, you know, they need our support, they need our help, because what Russia is doing is a war crime. They're killing innocent civilians with like ballistic missile strikes on just hospitals and just hotel buildings and not letting them leave counties and cities. It's inhumane and it's not right, and I'm not for it.
Thank you, Mr. Bigger.
I'm sorry, could you repeat like the full question to me?
Yes. The United States will be sending $700 million in military aid to Ukraine. What are your thoughts on the aid being spent?
Yeah, so I agree with my fellow delegates here. I think the United States should definitely work to supply aid to a lot of the soldiers in Ukraine, and I also think that we should make our best efforts to get the UN involved in trying Putin and a lot of the other Russian forces for war crimes. Because this is honestly not warfare, it's more like a slaughter. If you see a lot of this footage, these Ukrainian refugees are living in bombed out hospitals, and they have to live in constant fear and terror of bombings and soldier brutality, and I just think it's absolutely atrocious. Thank you.
Thank you for your answers. Our fourth question. A draft opinion on the fate of Roe versus Wade has been leaked a few weeks ago. What would your response be as a legislator if Roe versus Wade is overturned? We will start with Mr. Seago.
Well, I think it'll be very interesting to see that process, and I think it honestly just speaks to how we have a living constitution, how things are constantly developing. I think it's very good. I think it's interesting to see things change throughout time as our nation changes and our values of our nation. Kind of going back to what I said about forming more political parties and things of that nature, it helps to represent all different viewpoints, and I think that potentially something like that being overturned just speaks to the livingness of our Constitution.
Thank you, Mr. Seago.
One more time on that question. I want to hear it fully.
A draft opinion on the fate of Roe versus Wade has leaked a few weeks ago. What would be your response as a legislator if Roe versus Wade is overturned?
So some background on this: the Roe versus Wade it's over abortion. So if it did get overturned, it would be good for the anti-abortionists because it would be a stand on not having innocent children killed and new lives that are coming into the world be killed. You know, it gives them a chance at a life, and it gives the mothers that probably can't have a kid. Like, let's say we probably all know a woman that's infertile or had a miscarriage. Imagine how happy she would be if she could have a child, if she could adopt a child. So I fully think it should be overturned.
This isn't a fun question, but I'd like to agree with my friend Bigger over here. I'd like to partially agree with him. I don't think that I'm as anti-abortion as many of you who are sitting here. I think there should definitely still be some, allowances for women who have, certain circumstances. But if Roe v. Wade were to be overturned, I think I would support a couple more regulations being put on just like when you can have abortions or when women can have abortions, and you know, at how often, you know, like the frequency of abortions, because I don't think that something like abortion should just be like, you know, casualized and normalized in our society. Thank you.
Gonna stand up because it's freezing up here. I am pro-life. I don't think babies should be killed, innocent babies. But I have a solution to that, and I think I talked to some delegates about this in the cafeteria. One thing that I'm planning to do is probably open what's called creation centers for anybody who has an accidental pregnancy or possibly anything else that, you know, the world, things happen. So this center will basically allow you to still have the baby, but the government will be able to take care of it. The government will be able to take care of the baby, send it to school, give it free education and free health care.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Fund the parent as well.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Our next question will begin with Mr. Bigger. At Boys Nation, each of you will take a piece of legislation. What is one policy proposal you have, and how will your proposal benefit your constituents?
So my legislation bill that I wanted to talk about at the House if I went to Washington was over gun rights and gun restrictions and stuff along that nature. And as I said before, I am pro-gun. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have the right to bear arms, and we should be able to defend ourselves against anyone that comes into our life to try to harm us. But there are loopholes in that system that I don't stand by. Like, for example, you could go to like anyone in this room right now could go to a private seller and buy any type of weapon they wanted, because it's through a private seller and not like through how the government usually does that. So I don't stand by that. I don't feel like everyone at young ages should be able to have a gun, like a 14-year-old shouldn't be able to have a gun, and mentally insane people shouldn't have a gun. Thank you.
Okay, so one like world problem that I think is so often and way too often ignored right now, and some of you might laugh when I say this, but it's the decline of bees. For the last few decades, the bee population, the pollinator population has been very, very steadily declining. And like bees make up, pollinators allow us to produce about 75% of the crops we use for eating and for clothing. And with Arkansas being a pretty agricultural, state, if bees were to decline any further, that could mean absolute hazard for our state's economy. So I would propose some legislation that would incentivize farmers to sort of set up like little bee sanctuaries on their farms and have places where bee populations could grow and stuff like that, so that we could avoid this potential crisis. Thank you.
My bill that I will be bringing to legislation is free health care for low-income and minority families who can impossibly afford the Medicare that the United States government is putting in place. Quite honestly, when you are receiving medicine and treatments and you know that a low-income family cannot possibly pay for it, it should be free. Your health is a life or death situation. Your health is important, and your health is your #1 priority, because you couldn't get anywhere else without life.
Like I said in my opening statement, I believe that one of the things that's so great about Arkansas is that there is chances for economic opportunity. I would try to employ bigger businesses to come into Arkansas. We've seen like with obviously like Walmart and Tyson, these big corporations that specifically like Fayetteville and Bentonville have really prospered. And so like I would like to try and bring more corporations into Arkansas, such as like electric car businesses or things of that nature, in order to supply jobs to help people with the economy.
Our sixth question. Yesterday, there was another shooting involving a military assault-style weapon. How do you respond to calls for gun control in America? We will start with Mr. Chilcote.
Okay, so a couple like weeks before this event occurred, I was I think I'd say almost completely anti-gun control. But considering the fact that there have been around 3 mass shootings, and I guess the past week, or more than that, but the past 2 weeks, I think it's time for maybe a little bit, not even a little bit. We need to start taking action now. We need to definitely. I feel like we should have an extremely intensive screening process and like a training, even just a training process for people who would like to purchase things like bump stocks or AK assault weapons, and that is how I would better control the situation.
Me personally, I'm not trying to offend anybody's Second Amendment rights, but assault rifles have to go. I'm sick and tired of hearing all these mass shootings. It's getting on my freaking nerves at this point. I'm sick and tired of it. There's no reason why innocent kids should die. There's no reason why kids should have to go to school in fear. There's no reason why there should be a shooting inside of a hospital or any medical institution with an assault rifle. We need stricter gun laws, and we need them now. I don't care. It's not offending your Second Amendment rights. You will still have the opportunity to buy and purchase a gun, but trust me, it's going to get a lot harder because I'm sick of it at this point.
I think to an extent what we're seeing now is just kind of the idea of moral obligation is going away. Moral obligation is basically like why people choose to do good or evil, ultimately, and like how people have the same pretty much premise of what is good. I think that is ultimately the problem here. I don't think you can blame necessarily the weapon in the case. I do think that there should be more restrictions on it, or at least it should be harder to access these guns, but I don't think that's the whole problem, the weapon. I think it's really more of the human condition, which only seems to be getting worse and worse. And so I think you'd need to focus more on like the human heart and the head and psychological issues behind it more than just the weapons.
So I think we're all we all agree that, we need slightly stricter gun control or more gun control than what we have now. And I really like what Hudson brought up there. He talked about the person and not the weapon of say. I mean, we do need stricter gun laws like in the loophole system, but we could also look for systems to help the people too. Like if you're like clinically depressed or ill or something along that lines and you need help, so you don't have intentions to shoot up an elementary school or shoot up a hospital, we need to be able to get people like that help in the best possible way and the fastest way. Just prevent stuff from happening like this from ever happening again. I mean, we'll never truly get rid of this, but we can surely slow it down until we can.
Mr. Seago, you were mentioned by name. Would you like to respond? You were mentioned by name in Mr. Bigger's response. Would you like to respond?
No.
We can all give the candidates a round of applause. Now we will move to the next question and answer portion of the forum. Delegates, if you have any questions, you may line up in the second aisle from your right to ask your question. We cannot guarantee all questions will be answered, but if you have your question prepared, that will ensure we can ask as many questions as possible. The same rules apply to this round of questions, but we will shorten the answer period to 45 seconds. We will now begin with our questions.
This is 45 seconds, right?
Let's start with the first question.
Hello, my name is Ian Gunner from Hutchinson County, and my question is to all of the delegates. There's been a lot of talk from each delegate about gun control and gun legislation, and I was just curious on your opinions of what the Second Amendment means to you. Like, what is the definition? Why? What's its purpose?
Second Amendment means to me the right to bear arms and protect yourself from the government, and the right to form a militia to protect yourself from the government. It also means the right to bear arms to protect yourself from invaders and people who might try to attack you. That's what the Second Amendment means to me.
I would agree to that completely. I think part of the Second Amendment is all about being able to protect yourself. I think the second aspect of it is it enables you the ability to, in a way, fight for your freedom. That's how it was, I think, initially designed whenever during the writing of the amendments, but I think its main purpose is ultimately to defend yourself, and a part of that includes your freedom and what you believe to be true.
I fully agree with both of them. I think the Second Amendment is mainly to protect yourself and your property and your family. So I feel like if we took away the Second Amendment as a whole, we would all lose a sense of freedom and a sense of, it would really make us look down towards our government and elected officials if we really took that away, because taking that away is a violation of freedom, because that's all it is. It is the freedom to protect yourself from others.
I agree. I don't think we should in any way strip away the Second Amendment, because the Second Amendment is all about security. America was kind of founded. I feel like, we can call a lot of countries homelands, but to me, I've only ever lived in America, but America is the homeliness, the most homely homeland. And so I think that having guns gives us the right to protect what we love in this beautiful country, and I don't think that should be taken away. Thanks.
Our next question.
Gentlemen, all of you talked about being pro-life and supporting it. So I ask you, we're sending $700 million in aid to Ukraine. It would almost be seen as an act of war against Russia. Would you be willing, as you're doing this, how would you reconcile sending American troops and American life into there if they would be potentially in danger from Russian forces?
Did you say the second half of that again?
Basically, what I'm trying to add is if you're sending aid to Ukraine, and even because it will be an act of war technically, how would you reconcile sending American troops there to defend Ukraine?
I don't necessarily think America has an obligation to send troops to Ukraine. I think what we're doing now by just sending money is more than enough. But I think you're connecting it back to pro-life, and so death is just a part of it's a part of war. Throughout the Bible, God sends people to go. God wipes out entire civilizations and sends the Israelites to wipe out entire civilizations. And so it's all, in the end, just a result of our sinful nature and stuff. There's violence throughout the world. There's, as I talked about earlier, kind of a decline of moral obligation. People are doing worse and worse things, which results in these bad scenarios.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure the first half of that question was talking about us sending troops to Ukraine, right? I can't see them. Something along that line. I could be wrong, I could be mistaken, but at this moment, I don't think we've sent any troops to Ukraine. I think some troops have volunteered to be on the border of Ukraine and help out in those camps and stuff, but I don't think we've sent any troops over there. But what I will say about the pro-life thing is war. There's no love in war. And people are going to end up getting hurt in war. It's always going to happen. But there are things you can do, like sending money to Ukraine to protect themselves and their lives, because Russia's coming in to try to hurt them, and they're just trying to protect themselves. So that is technically pro-life for Ukraine.
Okay, so I agree with my fellow delegates. I don't believe that we should send U.S. troops to Russia unless it's a last resort. However, if I do believe it comes to that, I believe it should be done with, if the majority of the American people thinks that we should send U.S. troops to Ukraine, and in that scenario, I'd say that it would be completely justified. Thank you.
I agree with my colleagues. Sending troops, but for me, it's a little bit different. Sending troops to Ukraine, in my opinion, and from what I heard from the President of the United States, will be an act of world war. I think if we do send troops on the ground in Ukraine, we are basically giving Putin what he wants. He wants us to act in ground force. So right now, the best solution by the United States and by the Pentagon and Pentagon officials is to send aid and send mass weaponry. And to go into the abortion thing, war is going to happen no matter what. It's just, it's the way society has lined itself. War is going to happen, but we are supporting Ukraine by sending the weapons and the aid that they need.
So my question was, what are your opinions of the mental health system in America, and what changes would you make in it?
I like this question a lot because my other bill I was going to propose was going to be about mental health days in the school system. I believe mental health is becoming more of a widespread acceptance and day in America nowadays. It's not looked down upon nowadays. It's something you need to come out of to get help for, you know. So I think that the system could be fixed because right now most mental health facilities we have are like psych wards that are kind of like prisons. I feel like we need to readjust how we have those set up to more suit nowadays kind of needs, like just getting them help and it not being a prison system. So, yeah.
Okay. So, I think I'd agree that the mental health crisis seriously needs to be addressed in America. I'd say that a lot of private therapy, it's doing a very good job as it is of helping out, but I think we need to further encourage everybody to seek mental health treatment, and that's why I believe that we should focus a lot more on how much mental health treatment we can provide in schools, especially public schools. So one idea that I had, very interesting idea, was that I think we could at least brief teachers in counseling skills so that they could better be adjusted to noticing signs of mental distress in children and helping to deal with that. Thank you.
For my mental health, I'm going to call it mental wellness because I don't believe that anybody is crazy. I believe that mental illness is a natural problem for some people, especially since I have experienced it myself. But my plan is to put additional funding for schools, for aides in schools, for teachers to have certification and counseling students who have mental illness and also anger management issues, as well as making sure that they are comforted and know that they are well taken care of as well. So,
thank you, Mr.
So
Moore.
they won't feel like they're in a prison.
Ultimately, reiterating what's already been said, but I think they've given great ideas. I think implementing mental health days or illness days in schools would be very helpful, just because I think part of it would be just making people see school as a safe environment once again, or not as much so as a burden as it has been seen. I think mental health facilities are often viewed as pretty much like a prison, which they have a very negative view in mind. We had a representative from Texarkana talk to the how the improvements that are being making in psychiatric wards currently, and so I think we are seeing positive development there. But I do think implementing something in schools like a mental health day and counseling the teachers are great ideas.
So my question is, what are your opinions about the consequences that would take if a healthcare fallout took place?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you.
So I was wondering about your opinions of consequences that would take place if a healthcare fallout happened.
Healthcare, I still can't understand. I'm sorry. Healthcare fell away. More healthcare. Consequences. The consequences, if there were no more healthcare, would be pretty severe. I believe that we should put on our best efforts to conserve a lot of the, even if we are going to somehow transition to a more state-sponsored healthcare system in the future, I think we should take special care to recognize the contributions that at least just having the option of private healthcare can have on making sure people feel safe and secure in their treatment of health. Thank you.
If healthcare goes away, there will be higher prescription drugs, hospital bills will increase rapidly, ambulance bills will increase rapidly, and your doctor appointments will increase rapidly. Healthcare cannot go away. The government needs to fund healthcare as much as possible. Healthcare is a fundamental right. It is not a choice for the American people. It is a right to, for the government to fund your health and to make sure that you have all the health essentials that you need. So healthcare cannot possibly go away, and it will not on my watch, because we need healthcare.
I think it would be pretty detrimental for healthcare to go away. I do think there should be more limitations to healthcare, though, as to like who gets it. Because I do feel like a lot of people do, in a way, mooch off the healthcare system and steal from it. I do think that there would be many benefits to government if healthcare wasn't quite included to everyone. That could help pay off national debt and state debt, and there'd be new money to go towards different things. So I do think healthcare is something that we currently depend upon in our society, but it wouldn't be the worst thing to narrow down the scope as to what it covers or who all it covers.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't really understand the question, but I'm going to give my best interpretation of what I heard. So what I understood from the question was, if healthcare disappeared pretty much, how would it affect us? Well, first off, I think that we should probably put more of an emphasis on healthcare in America nowadays, because, you know, Canada is like full healthcare is paid for, right? So it's something along that line. But the downside with that is that their taxes are much higher and everything else goes up when you do that. There's no pros without cons, and there's no cons without pros. So if we put more emphasis on the healthcare system, you know, other things would go up in price and it would eventually even out. So I still think we should put an emphasis on it, but I think it's good around where it is right now.
Thank you, Mr. Bigger.
Hi, my name is Caleb Spall, and I was wondering if you get elected to go to Washington, D.C., how will we be able to contact you?
Wait, say that again.
How will we be able to contact you so you can hear our voices back here at home if you're elected to go to Washington, D.C.?
I give you my phone number right now. Anybody want to have my phone? 501? You got it? I mean, are we serious or are we just playing? Okay, 501 517 3563. You can call me any time of the day. I'm always available Monday through Sunday. You can call me at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't care. I need help on ideas. I need new people. I need people to help me come up with new ideas, so that'd be great. And Ashley, if you send me a text message, I will also send you my email address, and we can also do Zoom sessions, or we can Skype or whatever. I'm sorry, I don't have an iPhone for iPhone users, but just
Thank
send
you,
me a
Mr.
little
Moore.
text.
I really don't know how else you would do it other than just giving you the phone number. And I would agree with all that. My phone number is 501-658-2521. But my phone number is 501-658-2521. And I have an iPhone. And so I could do it. It'll be easier. I'll send you my email too.
Okay.
Mr. Moore, would you like to respond?
Oh, Android users go. Yay.
Okay, so, I got around the same. I mean, email me if you need to. I can give you all my email. I'll give it to the Boise State people so they can put it on their website if I get it nominated and elected to go. And you can just email me anything, or if you want my phone number, I can give you my phone number. Don't feel bad to call me at any time. I would love to talk. All right, okay. 870 810 8045. Call me anytime, honestly.
Thank you, Mr. Bigger.
I appreciate all of y'all.
Oh, it's my turn. Yeah. So, I'm gonna go ahead and give you my email. See, I'm not gonna give you my phone number just because. Hey.
Decorum, please.
Hey now.
Let's be
Just because
respectful.
I've got too many chicks blowing up my phone, honestly, and it's like, I gotta keep track of that, okay? You guys understand, right? You guys understand.
Please, delegates, hold your applause until the end of the segment.
Y'all understand. Okay, so my email, get your phones out, is Mark, as in like Mark the name, Mark of July, as in July the month, at iCloud.com. That is Mark of July at iCloud.com. Do not ask me what that name is about because I have no idea. Thank you.
Can y'all also, if the other delegates don't mind, can y'all please text your name as well so we can identify who you are? Please do that. Please.
Thank you for your answers. This will be our last delegate question.
Grayson Morphus, Carville County. So during the Roe versus Wade topic, a lot of you expressed your pro-life views. My question is, for women who are sexually assaulted, have health issues for either themselves or the baby that could cause a death or an injury at birth, or for women that cannot afford to have a child, what are the exceptions made, or are there no exceptions made?
I definitely think there should be exceptions made for those people. Granted, I do think there should be restrictions placed on when is considered life and everything like that based off heartbeat. But I do think that there does need to be exceptions. I think that's part of just understanding how society is changing. Like I've said numerous times, being considerate of other people and their beliefs. And yeah.
That's a wonderful question. I really enjoy that because I have fantastic vision for that one. Is so you talked about rape, health problems, or just can't afford to take care of it. So with the can't afford to take care of it, adoption is always a thing to put the child up for it, to give it a better chance at life, and to make you financially, so you don't go in the gutter as well. And the rape thing, I like how Georgia does it. Georgia does it by if you legally get it said that they raped you, and it is legally done through the court system, you can get an abortion to get rid of it if you do it legally, like they raped you, not just make up that they raped you. What was the last one? Those were.
Thank you,
those
Mr.
were two?
Baker.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so I think that we should definitely, there should definitely be exceptions made to these restrictions, you know, for life-threatening, that, you know, like births and pregnancies, I could call it life-threatening wounds or emergencies, and I think that, you know, sexual assaults, there could be exceptions made for that. About the parents that couldn't afford it, however, I don't believe that we should make exceptions, or I think we should make exceptions on that specifically until we start cleaning up the foster system and the adoption system in America. I know that there are a lot of in a lot of locations, the foster system is it's kind of all over the place, and I think we need to, if we address that, then there will be a lot fewer abortions happening because
Thank you, Mr.
people can't
Chilcote.
take care of the children. Thank you.
I definitely agree with my colleagues. There should be exceptions made. If a woman's life is at risk, she should have that abortion. And I think Georgia was a great example of that. And also, as going into that, Henry also said to make sure that it is affordable, to make sure that they will have the money to get that abortion, that to make sure it's not too expensive. My main focus is on low-income families and low-income single parents, to make sure that it is either mostly affordable to free as possible for them to go ahead and get that abortion if anything happens.
Thank you for your questions. Arkansas Boys State, that will conclude our forum today. We had an informative and spirited dialogue today. Now we will hear our candidates' closing statements. Each candidate will get 3 minutes for their closing statement, beginning with Reed Bigger.
Okay, so I wanted to bring up what VP Parker said the other day, because it really stuck with me, and I really liked his message he came across with it. He said, thank you, Hilda, for FaceTiming me. He said, don't let the top half of someone fool you. I really like this message because I feel like some people here this week came here just to fool some people and get their vote and not let them see the full character of who they are. That's not what I'm here to represent. I'm here to represent y'all and show y'all my full character, let y'all get to know me so I can go on to Boys Nation and represent y'all the best way I can. I want to be the voice for the little guy in this situation being Arkansas, because we've been looked down on so many times, so many years. You know, there's just not a lot happening in Arkansas, to be frank. I mean, I drive around to Sonic and get a drink, and then I go home. That's what I do. Yeah, I just think we should see the full character of people before we send them off to Boys Nation to represent us. Goodness, Hilda. The one thing I want to take away from this experience of being nominated is I just want to thank all of y'all for believing in me, voting me, the Federalist candidates, the Federalist Party nominated me to be y'all's primary with Hudson. We really appreciate it. And the friendships I've made here at Boys State and the experience it's been for all of us. I think we can all agree that Boys State has been life-changing for some, with leadership discussions with our senior counselors like X. I don't know where he's at, but he's a wonderful senior counselor, and he really opened the eyes of a lot of people on Qualls and really showed us some different points of views and really helped us understand each other better. And I think I would have not gotten that experience without Boys State. So I just want to say a special thank you to Boys State for bringing all of us and opening our eyes to new and different things. And I want to thank everyone here for just being awesome. I don't think we get enough credit as people that we're all different, but we need to get along, you know? And that's all I got to say pretty much. And I really do appreciate y'all and love y'all. And if y'all ever need me, you got my phone number.
Thank you. So, I want to talk to y'all about the week that my voice dropped. It was a discussion. It was a long time coming. I think y'all all knew it. So, it was about a year ago, honestly, that my voice kind of got like this. It was over the span of 1 week. You know, I just would wake up and my voice would become increasingly deeper over the last couple of days. For those of you who've been asking, yes, it's completely natural, according to the doctor that I went to see about it. But yeah, it's completely natural. But when I first started having these changes, and honestly, it brought along a lot of insecurities. You know, this isn't a normal voice. I mean, it's a normal voice, but at the same time, it's very irregular for someone like me to have such a deep voice. And a lot of people knew that, and I felt like I was, you know, being judged by a lot of people at my school, and it was kind of embarrassing. But coming here has honestly kind of helped dissipate a lot of those insecurities. Y'all have all, I'll be honest, it's gotten kind of annoying because a lot of y'all will just ask me like every time you see me like, Henry, what about your voice? Henry. And that has gotten annoying, but I feel like y'all have been very supportive and nice to me about, it's a quality of mine that's very forthstanding, and I feel like y'all have been very nice in bringing out like kind of the nice aspects of my voice as opposed to the negative ones. Now that's kind of what I want to take to the Washington, D.C. I feel like a lot of the other states, a lot of the other people in our country kind of only see, Arkansas is a very unique state, and I feel like a lot of other people in our country only see the bad sides of Arkansas, you know, the crime rates or all the stereotypes about rednecks, you know, whatever. But I feel like a lot of people haven't seen just the great, the absolutely awesome things that Arkansas can bring to the table in comparison to the other states. It's such a beautiful state. It's full of beautiful people like you. I couldn't imagine living in any other state, and I want to be the voice of Arkansas when I go to Washington, D.C., which is why I would like each and every one of you to put my name down on the ballot as your 2022 Boys Nation delegate nominee. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to explain my bill real quick in detail. I'm not going to try to make it too long, but I'm about to explain it. The bill that I am proposing to legislation, even elected or not, by the way, my colleagues, actually, we was having a discussion about this. I want to thank my colleagues for helping with this. The key thing in my legislation is education, because we children, we are the future. And I think that it's time for us to start having a voice in our own education. A teacher was explaining to me about a couple of weeks ago, right before school ended, I'd say about 2 weeks before school ended, and she said that a lot of high school students are being cheated on their tests. If you don't know one thing about me, my aunt is actually one of the coordinators for the ACT Aspire test, so she puts it together. And one thing she was talking to me about is making it affordable. Well, one thing I did not realize that she has not done is she has not made it easy and accessible for students. The ACT Aspire is impossible for some students to pass. Some students can pass it, but the majority of students cannot. The ACT Aspire test is really not helpful, is basically what I'm saying. What the flexible education system I want to bring forth, and the colleagues also, we discussed this, is for high school students to start choosing the classes they want to take, and those classes will prepare them for their future. So for example, if you don't want to take a math class, let's say your 10th grade year, your sophomore year, you don't have to take an algebra class. If you don't need algebra, you don't have to take it. Now, one thing that I will encourage high school students to do is to please take a financing class or a business class, but the whole point of flexible education is to let you choose classes that will help you prepare you for your future, and talking to your counselors about what will help you prepare you for your future. Not to force classes on you or not to force the curriculum on you, because you are the customers. When you walk into the classroom, you are expected to be comfortable with the curriculum, not the teachers or not the district forcing the curriculum on you to force you to learn something that you're really not going to need in life. I will close with saying this. I'm honestly not the strongest person when it comes to some political issues. I know a lot of political issues because I read it through Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, or I go through my uncle, Fred Allen, who is a representative here in Arkansas. And so one thing I want to let you know is I will still continue to fight and stand my ground and work on issues. I want you to please text me, please.
Thank you, Mr.
I need
Moore.
your help.
To close, thank you all for listening to me these past few days. From an academic standpoint, all of these candidates are probably about the same. I would like to spend these last few minutes to explain why I want to be a Boys Nation Senator for the state of Arkansas. I would like to go to Boys Nation for the opportunity to grow as a leader. I know that probably sounds cheesy or like a no-duh response, but for me it's genuine. You see, I came here asking God for confirmation. I didn't know what I wanted out of life, nor where I wanted to go to college. Over these past few weeks, God has reminded me of the things I am passionate about. God reminded me that I love to learn more about Him and His character. God reminded me that I love walking out in creation and talking to Him. God reminded me that I'm passionate about my upbringing in Arkansas, and I want others to share these same beliefs and conviction with me. I was also reminded of my desire to see unity in the country. We are also divided on so many different things, especially towards politics. I would love the opportunity to represent Arkansas on a national level and display love to other delegates from various states. I would love for delegates from other states to see our representatives from Arkansas and be stunned by their passion for a state few people care about, and the way they love and consider everyone's viewpoints, not because they want a popularity vote, but because of the love they have for one another and desire to be united. In closing, if you choose to send me to Boys Nation, I will prioritize the beliefs of all those present here. I will seek to make compromises that are beneficial to all. I will seek to learn about other states and the pride that they have so that I can bring these improvements back to our state. I will be seeking to make each and every single one of you proud to be born and raised in Arkansas. Like I said earlier, my first priority after arriving in D.C. will be economic opportunity available in our state. I will push for economic policies, including working with corporations to bring prosperity to the state. Walmart has already done this in Bentonville and Fayetteville. It is my desire to bring this to the rest of the state. As I said, my name is Hudson Sego, and I thank you for your time and consideration.
Decorum, delegates. Please make sure to evaluate all candidates on their answers today and make an informed decision when you vote. I will now turn the forum over to the Boys Nation Coordinator, Leon Jones III. Thank you.
You did really good. Thank you so much, Knox. You did amazing. To the candidates, you all did exceptionally well today. Super proud of all of you. All right, just a few announcements. Can the Warren delegates and Little Rock Central delegates please meet in the lobby? Don't do that. Never mind. I will now invite Mr. David Satterfield to the stage.
All right, gentlemen, you're now going to your schools of instruction. There's been a couple of changes, so pay attention. for me, if you don't mind. If you are in the School of Commerce, the entire School of Commerce, you're going to meet in the chapel, okay? If you are a House rep or or a state senator that was elected yesterday, you will be in Old Main in this auditorium. If you are a newly elected state constitutional officer from the Associate Justice all the way up to the governor, you will be in room 115 of this building. Everyone else, go to the classroom that you were in this morning. Does anybody have any questions? Does everybody understand? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. All right, so we're gonna dismiss in waves by county, all right? So we'll start on my left. Counselors. Does everybody know where they're going, right? All right, good job. We'll start right here. Qualls, Caldwell. Can you do 114? Because that's where I was from sending the Constitution on. So, is it Little Rock Central? Little Rock Central delegates and Warren delegates, you're going to be meeting. Hey, listen, guys. If you go to school at Little Rock Central and Warren, you will meet in room 114 for a picture.
Yeah, no, you can keep it, yeah.
If you're in the activism track, you're in Irby 315. Irby 315, activism.
Y'all need this on? Yeah. Okay.